Welcome back. Right, let's jump straight into another tutorial, and this one is on the subject of grabbing transients, or as I like to call them, transient stealing or stealing transients. The idea is to remove redundant transients, which are often caused by so many different things. It could be transformer based, i.e. electric, so your mic might pick up electrical spikes. They might come from certain transformer based hardware. So maybe you're using an amplifier and DIing it with your bass or whatever. It could come as a notching EQ process. Sometimes when we're notching sounds, you'll see that the harmonics also respond as spikes, or even the notch itself. So I like to remove those. You're not going to hear the difference between something that's had what I call redundant transients removed. You're not going to hear the difference. They are the kind of spikes you often see in audio when you perform an EQ or a compression or a limiting. You'll see the odd random errant spike just hanging around and ruining everything. Because remember, spikes are still gain dependent, so they're referenced against volume. So they will trip your compressor or your limiter or whatever. I've taken a snare hit example here from a track called On the Rise, kindly donated by Marquis Jai. I put just some very basic kind of compression on this just to boost some levels up using the sand from Acoustica Audio. Then I've used the G Clip, which is a free plugin, has a nice visual display here and 3 extremely simple tools. And my favorite little free oscilloscope, or rather waveform display, it's called Smart Electronics from Bram and Sean. Pick this up because I actually use this at the end of every single channel to control errant spikes. Right, the first thing we want to do is let's disable this and just have a quick look at this, i.e. the waveform played back through Smart Electronics. So you can see very standard, very well behaved snare, nothing heavy happening. But look what happens when I throw the compressor in. You'll see random responses, which is pretty much what we expect from a snare that's played in. But there are redundant spikes here that we're not going to need. That one, for example. So let me show you how we can manipulate these. By using the G Clip, which is simply a clipper plugin. That's all it does, is just gain, clip, and softness to the clip. I'm going to leave softness alone and gain at 0. The only thing we're going to concentrate on is this. If you now have a look at the boosted waveform that's entering here, so we get another waveform display here, you'll see where those transients lie. But I can see that the life of this thing is up here. So why not remove everything down to about there? Maybe just a touch more. If you now look at the waveform display here, we've trimmed about 2-3 dBs easily just by using this plugin, the G Clip. And I haven't changed a single thing about the sounds except the transient response or the peak response. For genres like EDM and hip-hop, loudness seems to be a crucial factor. Not so much as square wave compression, let's have it loud as hell, but loudness in terms of bringing out transients through a mix. In other words, you mix specific sounds very loud and then bring them down in the mix, so all the transients are pronounced. And this is one of the tricks we use to remove errant spikes or redundant transients. Redundant spikes that actually don't benefit the audio. You're not going to hear a difference from a single errant spike that's going up 2-3 dBs. So if we remove it, we've now allowed for another 2-3 dB of headroom, which means we can compress further. That's pretty much all this technique does. It's a way of maximizing your loudness chain by removing transients or errant transients, errant peaks, errant spikes, call them what you like. Now imagine doing this on every single channel and at the master bus. You're going to end up with some amazing volume. So have a look at this. In terms of volume or perceived volume, exactly the same, but look how much space we've gained for the headroom. Right, hope that was of help to you. Practice with this with EQs particularly, or when you bring in your vocals that you've recorded from using a microphone, etc. Have a look through the whole audio file, because you will find errant spikes. So if you find the average spike, i.e. the one that seems to represent all of them, so it might be something that's a bit below the peak transients and a bit above the quietest transients that are still errant spikes, work in between the two. You don't want to damage the actual peak transients of the audio itself. Otherwise you lose that nice crispy attack of a sound. Softness will do that as well, but softness is something we'll come to use later when we start to actually clip sounds. Now go have some fun.